Steelers Nation woke up to a very different kind of offseason morning, and the tone around Pittsburgh shifted fast once it became clear that the organization was already deep into decision-making mode. When team leadership addressed the situation earlier than usual, the biggest surprise was not the timing, but the clarity. Instead of hedging or pushing answers down the road, the message was direct, confident, and rooted in how this franchise has always viewed itself. There is no sense of panic, no indication that the ground beneath the Steelers was shaking, only a reaffirmation of how they believe winning football is supposed to be built. What stood out immediately was how clearly leadership framed the head coaching role. Above schemes, systems, or sides of the ball, the priority was leadership. That word carried real weight, not as a buzzword, but as a defining trait tied directly to the legacy of past coaches who shaped the modern Steelers' identity. The emphasis was on authority, presence, and command of the room, the kind of figure who sets the tone for an entire organization rather than simply calling plays on Sundays. That vision has not changed, and there was no attempt to modernize it just for the sake of appearances. Equally important was the commitment to maintaining the existing power structure. The Steelers are not interested in reinventing how football operations function internally. The head coach is expected to have a strong voice, meaningful influence over roster construction, and a clear place at the top of the football hierarchy. That continuity matters because it signals stability to players, staff, and the rest of the league. This is not a franchise searching for an identity. It is a franchise protecting one. When it came to the profile of potential candidates, the direction became even clearer. The preference is for someone already shaped by the professional level, someone who understands the demands of the league without needing on-the-job training. At the same time, the search is not about recycling former head coaches. The idea is to find a fresh voice that has been tested inside NFL buildings, but not someone bringing baggage from previous top jobs. That balance narrows the field quickly, and it explains why internal candidates were ruled out just as swiftly. Age was never framed as a requirement, but reality painted its own picture. Once interview requests surfaced, every known name fit into a younger generation of coaches. That was not accidental. Youth in this case was not about trend chasing, but about energy, adaptability, and long-term vision. One offensive-minded candidate stood out among a group dominated by defensive backgrounds, and that contrast alone sparked conversation. His resume includes years under one of the league's most respected offensive minds, exposure to modern passing concepts, and experience working in high-pressure environments. At 35 years old, his age became a talking point only for those ignoring history, because the Steelers themselves have never been afraid to trust younger leaders. The rest of the field leaned heavily toward defense, and each name brought a different flavor of experience. There were coordinators who have rebuilt struggling units, others who have maximized talent in competitive divisions, and one name that immediately resonated with fans because of prior time spent in Pittsburgh. That familiarity added intrigue, but it did not come with guarantees. Past connections alone are not enough to secure the most powerful coaching position in the organization. Beyond the names and speculation, the most revealing moment came when leadership addressed the idea of a long, intentional rebuild. The response was blunt and unapologetic. The Steelers do not believe in wasting seasons. Every year is treated as an opportunity to compete, regardless of circumstances. Rosters change, injuries happen, and talent fluctuates, but the expectation never shifts. The standard is to chase championships annually, not to punt seasons in hopes of future rewards. That philosophy does not ignore reality. It acknowledges that some years you have the pieces and some years you do not. But even in seasons where the roster is incomplete, the goal remains the same. Compete, adjust, and push forward. There is no appetite for copying models from other franchises that intentionally bottom out. The belief is that culture erodes faster than it rebuilds, and losing on purpose is a dangerous habit. Naturally, the quarterback position sits at the center of that discussion. Any new coach walking into Pittsburgh will have to navigate that reality. There is an understanding that the path forward at quarterback may not be immediate or glamorous. Drafting, developing, and evaluating talent at that position takes time, and there's openness to short-term solutions if they serve a larger plan. What mattered most was that flexibility would not be held against the next coach, as long as the long-term vision aligned with the franchise's competitive standards. This mindset shapes everything from draft strategy to coaching philosophy. The Steelers are not afraid to be patient, but they refuse to be passive. Decisions are expected to serve both the present locker room and the future of the franchise. That balance is difficult, and it is why this coaching hire carries so much weight. It is not just about finding the next play caller or motivator. It is about finding someone who understands the foundation of how the Steelers operate and is capable of carrying it forward without diluting it. The conversation then drifted toward control at the very top of the organization, and that is where emotions around Pittsburgh really began to surface. With the long era now clearly closed, frustration that had been simmering for years finally found a new target. That reaction felt inevitable. When a figure who defined stability for so long is gone, fans still carrying disappointment need somewhere to direct it. What became clear, though, is that leadership is fully aware of that dynamic and not pretending it does not exist. Age naturally became part of the discussion, not as an accusation, but as context. At 73 years old, the man overseeing this transition has already spent decades shaping the Steelers into what they are today. History inside the organization shows that transitions of power have never been abrupt. They have been deliberate, gradual, and handled behind the scenes long before they became visible to the public. When football control shifted generations ago, it did not happen overnight, and there is reason to believe the same philosophy applies now. One detail that did not go unnoticed was who was present during key moments. Seating arrangements matter in rooms like that, not symbolically, but practically. Proximity reflects involvement. Seeing the next generation positioned near the center of football operations was not an accident, nor was it framed as ceremonial. It suggested exposure, education, and preparation rather than an immediate transfer of authority. That distinction is important because this is not a franchise that hands over the keys without ensuring continuity. There is also a misconception that stagnation equals neglect. From the outside, it can feel like nothing changes when championships do not follow, but inside the building, the process is far more complex. The Steelers do not chase every trend or tear everything down after disappointment. They believe stability gives them a chance to correct course without burning the foundation. That belief can frustrate a fan base desperate for visible change, but it is consistent with how the franchise has always operated. Comparisons to other exits within the organization help frame this moment. When previous leaders stepped away, it was done methodically, often after ensuring that the final major decisions aligned with their vision. That does not mean the same script is being followed now, but it does suggest that planning happens quietly. If a transition is coming, it will be because the timing is right internally, not because of external pressure or public anger. The younger generation waiting in the wings brings a different energy. Observers who have spent time around him describe someone far more outgoing, engaged, and comfortable in modern settings than the stereotype often attached to ownership figures. He is not content to sit back silently. He interacts, listens, and carries himself with confidence. That personality difference alone fuels speculation about the future, but personality does not automatically equal readiness. What matters more is experience, and that is where patience becomes critical. Taking over day-to-day football control during one of the most important coaching searches in franchise history would be an enormous first task for anyone. Even with intelligence and enthusiasm, the learning curve would be steep. That is why involvement now does not necessarily mean authority now. Being part of the process is about understanding how decisions are made, how disagreements are resolved, and how pressure is handled at the highest level. The coaching search itself reinforces that caution. This is not just another hire. It is the selection of the person who will define the next era of Steelers football. Every voice in that room carries weight, and every perspective matters. Learning how to balance tradition with evolution is not something that can be rushed. It requires exposure, repetition, and trust earned over time. Ultimately, the Steelers are at a crossroads that feels heavier than most. The past still looms large, the future is uncertain, and expectations remain unforgiving. The franchise is trying to honor its identity while acknowledging that the league around it continues to change. How leadership manages that tension will determine whether this next chapter stabilizes the organization or pushes it into unfamiliar territory. And every decision being made right now feeds into that larger picture as the search continues and the internal dynamics quietly evolve. That tension between honoring tradition and adapting to the present is exactly what makes this moment so delicate. The Steelers are not a franchise that reacts emotionally, even when the outside noise grows louder. Internally, the focus remains on alignment, making sure that whoever steps into leadership roles understands not only the expectations, but the responsibility that comes with representing this organization. Decisions are being filtered through a long-term lens, not just about winning immediately, but about sustaining credibility in the locker room and consistency in the front office. Another layer to all of this is how players perceive the direction. Veterans want reassurance that the standard has not slipped, while younger players are looking for clarity about where the team is headed. Leadership changes, whether on the sideline or in the executive offices, ripple through the roster quickly. That is why messaging matters as much as action. Calm, measured communication sends a signal that the franchise is still in control of its own narrative, even during periods of uncertainty. As this process unfolds, every move will be scrutinized, every silence analyzed, and every decision questioned. That comes with the territory of being one of the league's most storied franchises. The Steelers have never been afraid of that pressure, and they are not starting now. What matters most is that the people guiding this transition believe in the path they are taking, even if it does not satisfy impatience in the moment, because the choices being made right now will echo through Pittsburgh for years to come. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The Pittsburgh Steelers front office has reportedly made a decision that could shake the NFL to its core. Dak Prescott is their choice for the 2026 starting quarterback. The news, still unconfirmed by the team, has leaked through sources close to the organization and has already sparked a firestorm of debate among fans and analysts alike. The move, if true, would mark a dramatic shift for a franchise long known for cultivating its own quarterbacks through the draft, rather than signing big-name free agents. Steelers Nation, famously passionate and opinionated, is divided. Some see Prescott as the veteran presence Pittsburgh needs to stabilize an offense that has struggled with consistency, while others view the decision as a gamble that could backfire given Prescott's injury history and the team's commitment to developing younger talent. Insiders suggest the front office's decision came after a tense evaluation period, weighing the potential of internal prospects against the proven, yet polarizing, pedigree of Dak Prescott. Sources hint that discussions centered not just on on-field performance, but also leadership, locker room dynamics, and the ability to adapt to the Steelers' complex offensive schemes. Prescott, known for his resilience and statistical production in Dallas, reportedly impressed decision-makers with his willingness to embrace the challenge, even in a city known for scrutinizing quarterbacks mercilessly. The speculation alone is enough to send ripple effects across the league. How will Prescott adjust to the Steelers' style? Can the offensive line protect him against the relentless AFC North pass rush? And perhaps most importantly, how will fans respond to a franchise icon making way for a player whose career has always been intertwined with another city? The rumor has ignited conversations across social media, sports talk shows, and even among former Steelers greats, with opinions ranging from cautious optimism to outright skepticism. For now, the story remains in the rumor stage, but the mere suggestion that the Steelers are betting on Dak Prescott as their next signal caller has already changed the narrative surrounding the team's future. Whether this move becomes reality or simply a fleeting whisper from the front office, one thing is clear. Pittsburgh is on the verge of one of the most talked about quarterback decisions in recent NFL memory. And Steelers fans, as always, will be watching every twist and turn with unwavering intensity. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.